Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. This week I'm going to show you a card that I made and showed on my blog on Saturday. It was for the Casually Crafting design team, and what we had to do this month was only use basic black, basic grey and basic white. And I came up with this little simple card. There are no embossing folders, there are no die cuts or anything. It is just using a paper trimmer and scoring. So I want to show you how I made it, just in case you wanted to make it yourself. Now I've used the Peaceful Deer stamp set, and I'm using this little deer, the Merry Christmas, this little deer and the antlers. And I've used some paper. I sort of cheated a little bit because this designer series paper, one of the colours in it is the basic grey. It's basic black, basic grey and smoky slate. And I thought if I just used some of this paper, then that would work too. So I've used this paper, which is sort of smoky slate, but you can see there are some little darker patches, and the little darker patches are the basic grey. So I thought that paper would work. And it's the, let me just open it. It's the one that has the little silver trees on the back. I just used the backing for that. There's a piece of it here. So it's this paper, the one that has the little silver shiny trees on. If you check my blog later, there will be all the sizings on there, so you don't have to write anything down while we're crafting. You need to start with a piece of the basic grey cardstock, and I've cut it at 4 1/4 by 11, and I've scored it at 5 1/2, and I'm just going to fold that over, make sure the edges match up, and then with my bone folder, just going to flatten it out a little bit. Okay, and then you're going to need 2 pieces of the basic black. These are cut at 3 5/8 by 4 7/8, and you need 1 for the front and 1 for the inside. So I'm doing 2 pieces at the same time. And then you have a little tiny border and a piece of basic white over. So it's not the full 1/4 inch border, it's just, just the 1/8 of an inch and just small. So I'm going to attach those because we're not stamping on the white or anything. Okay. Now for the one for the inside, we are stamping on the white. So I'm going to stamp first, and I could attach it and then stamp, but if I miss stamp or if I make a mess and a smudge, it means I can't turn over very easily. So I'm going to stamp this one, and it's the deer that just looks like it's jumping. It doesn't have the sentiment in the middle like the one that's going on the front. I've got my basic grey ink pad. Let's move that one out of the way as well. Oops. And I'm only going to just ink that up and stamp it on the inside. And I'm also going to use the little set of antlers. And I think while we've got the ink out, I might as well stamp everything. So this one, you just line the little antlers up so they're on his head. Okay. So that's our inside piece. You need a little scrap of the basic white, and I'm using the Merry Christmas sentiment. It just fits in here, but I do trim it down a little bit as well. So I'm trying to stamp it fairly straight, but I am going to cut it down. Okay, and then the last little piece is for the front. And let me see where my piece of card has run away to. That's it. It's the 2 by 2 piece of basic white, and for that one I'm going to stamp the larger deer, and it only just fits on, look. So you just have to be a little bit careful when you stamp that you don't leave one of his little legs hanging off the end or anything. I'm just going to pop it a bit nearer to me so I can see. And I love how this one stamps and you get that little sentiment that comes up. So it says, "Oh, what fun." Okay. So I think that's all of the stamping. So there's not even much to stamp. Okay, now while those ones dry, I'm going to add the one with just the deer onto a piece of basic black, and this will become our inside piece. Just make sure it's got that tiny weeny border all the way around. And it's got a little raised edge there from when I've cut it. So I'm just going to go over it with my bone folder, just to push that cut edge down. So we can start to build up the card. I'm going to put the middle or the inside piece in first. And you can use any type of glue you want. If you want to use a liquid glue so that you can sort of attach it and then still have time to wiggle it round if it's not quite straight. As you know, I use liquid glue a lot. Just today I'm using my stamping seal because it's nearer. And then I've got that little piece of designer series paper, and I'm making it so that the lines sort of run horizontal. And this is cut at 4.5 by 3.25. So I'm going to put that onto the basic black and basic white piece. You've got a little bit of a bigger border on this. You've got the full 1/4 inch border. I didn't want to have the black too wide because sometimes black can take over a little bit. And I'm making this as a Christmas card, but you could easily make this as a birthday card too. It doesn't have to be Christmas. Okay, now this piece is dry, so I'm going to just mount it on top of a piece of basic grey, and that's just cut 1/4 inch larger at 2.25 by 2.25. Oops, a little bit of glue on my fingers now. And it's got that nice little border. Okay, now before I attach this to the front of the card, I want to put my little piece of twine round. And I'm using the Baker's Twine Essentials pack, and I'm using the grey that's in there. So I've just made sure that I've got enough to wrap around and to tie a bow. I'm not really sure how much that is. Let me just measure it, give you a bit of a clue. So I've got 20 inches on there, and I'm going to pop it all the way around. I want to tie my bow at the right hand side, and I want it sort of in the middle. And then because twine can slip quite easily, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little glue dot under here just to keep that attached. So the glue dots are larger than I need, so I'm just going to fold it in half, pop it on my designer series paper there, and then that's where I'm going to attach the knot. I'm going to squish that right down and turn it upside down, because the way I tie my bows, I end up with the tails at the top. So if I do it upside down, it means the tails will be at the bottom. Let's just move that around a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to squish the rest of it into that glue dot. And if the glue dot is still sticking out a little bit, I'm going to use the other end. I'm going to use that little spatula end. I'm just going to push it, there we go, so that the knot covers all of that glue dot. I'm just going to pop it straight. I'm not going to cut the tails. Oops, I pulled that out a little bit. I'm not going to cut the tails until I've got the sentiment on and I know how long I want them. I know that they're too long at the moment. And then I'm just going to turn this back around because I'll need it in a moment for my little matte black dots. Okay, now here's the little piece that I'd made. If you have access to a cut and emboss machine, what you might want to do is use maybe some of this patterned paper instead. I cut this out with one of the layering circles, and you could put it on the little scalloped circle, or I've got another one here, and I embossed a piece of the basic grey, and I just used the wood embossing folder, and I made 2 circles, and so that would look nice as well. So if you didn't even want to stamp, if you just wanted to cut out the designer series paper, and then on the inside, instead of stamping, you could just put another one of the little cabins. So you don't even have to stamp on this card. I am going to, because I've already stamped this little deer and I like this one. And then I'm just going to put some dimensionals on the back, and I'm going to put them at the top and the bottom so that they're over the top of the twine. So I'm going to pop 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. And because this piece is going to get glued down, it's not going to, the twine's not going to move. But if you're worried about the twine moving, you can always just put a little piece of tear and tape over the top there. Okay, and I'm just going to measure this. So I've got the same distance, top, bottom, and at the left. Okay, and then let's find some adhesive. I'm going to use my stamping seal again, just because it's next to me, but you could use tear and tape. Oops. Okay. Whatever you're comfortable with. There we go. And then I'll check that I've got this going the right way around. And again, I'm just making sure that that border is even all the way around. And then here's our little sentiment that we cut, that we stamped. I'm just going to cut that down. I'm going to use, I'm going to use my longer scissors, and I'm going to just leave a little gap over the top, just so it's a little bit nearer to the stamping. And it's going to go down here. On this one, I just angled the edge. You could leave it straight, but I'm just going to angle the edge again. Just this week, I like these angled edges. There we go. Just gives a bit of a different look as well. And then I'm going to use my small dimensionals, and I think I'm going to use one of these pieces from down the edge. Cut that off. Let's see how much we need. Oh, nearly all of it. So I'm going to cut that off there. These ones are great for little sentiments and things. That's going to be just a tiny bit too long. I'm just going to take a little bit more off, because otherwise you'll see it just sticking out at the end. I don't want to be able to see that. And then I'm going to pop my sentiment down, down here. And pop those large scissors back. And I'm going to trim those tails. I'm not going to use my ribbon scissors, just because it's not a ribbon. Twine seems to cut quite easily with my not as sharp scissors. Whereas if I tried to cut ribbon, it would fray. And so I'm just going to decide on the tail length. There we go. And then last of all, I'm going to use some of the matte black dots. And it's these ones. Oh, I don't know where I've got this yellow one and a gold one from. Just must be come off some of the others in my box. And I'm only going to use the small ones. I'm just going to pop 3 on. And here you can see I put 3 in a line going down, which I quite liked. And if I decide to make this a more masculine card, I think that always looks sort of a nice embellishment. But you could, let's put this one on. You could put them so that they went in a sort of the corner. Let's put the 2. So the third one, instead of going down here, you could make it go here. And that mimics the angles and everything. but I'm going to pop mine back here. And can you see how it would make a really nice birthday card too? And you know, just change the sentiment here, of course. And so there we are. With my little piece inside. I think for my envelope, I might just stamp this little deer again, and so that it all matches. So there we are. That was my Casually Crafting Design Team entry for November. And if you pop on over to my blog, I will have all the sizings written down for you, and the names of the stamp sets and everything that I used. So thank you so much for joining me. It was a quicker video today, but I think it's one of those layouts that you could probably use again and again. Uses some nice designer series paper and either a little bit of stamping, or if it was this piece, no stamping. Okay, take care, and I'll see you all again really soon, everybody. Bye-bye.